Good moment. I'm Lauren. It's Good Friday, and this is day 39 of our metaphysical exploration into Lent. And today we will talk about the crucifixion. But for the next few moments, I invite you to just listen to the music and take in a little bit of the scenery. So I'll be referencing Keep a True Lent by Charles Fillmore, as well as reading just a couple of verses out of the First Nations version, an indigenous translation of the New Testament. But mainly, I am going to refer to life today and what the crucifixion represents. I was talking to a friend, Linda Masterson, and we were exploring the consciousness level of the crucifixion. And I loved what she said. She said, to her in consciousness, the crucifixion is symbolic of transcending power outside, which gives rise to release from constraints, stabilizing at the next level with greater freedom and creativity. I had to kind of laugh as I was thinking about what I was going to say, and I met Becky about a year ago, and she's like, Jesus has called me onto this path. And I'm like, okay, why do I feel like I'm the one being crucified sometimes? But I think we all go through that in various times in our life. And so this story is such a beautiful illustration of not wavering from our internal power, from our internal power source. And the messaging I've shared over the last couple of videos has been about not outsourcing source, but go within, listen within, and you won't be without. Charles Fillmore interpreted this day as Jesus' final step in a work that had been going on in him for 33 years. And when he arose, he was entirely free from the carnal mind with all its limitations. He had overcome all the carnal tendencies which he had taken on that he might free the race from its bondage. The word crucifixion means the crossing out in consciousness of certain errors that have become fixed states of mind. It is the enactment by a master of the final extinction of carnal mind, the giving up of the whole personality in order that the Christ mind may be expressed in its fullness. This is represented by the crucifixion of Jesus. Calvary means the place of a skull. The carnal mind has appropriated the brain and its skull, and it is here that the final battle is fought. Every time we give up error, there's a crucifixion. The 3 days Jesus was in the tomb represent the 3 steps in overcoming error. First, non-resistance. Second, the taking on of divine activity or receiving the will of God. Third, the assimilation and fulfillment of the divine will. I deny that the self that I may unite with the selfless. I give up the mortal that I may attain the immortal. I dissolve the thought of the physical body that I may realize the spiritual body. This is a mental process with a physical effect. I affirm, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. For me, the crucifixion has had a really beautiful change of heart for me. I have noticed that in many, many stories in literature and in other sacred texts, this journey is illustrated in various ways. So, since it was written by humans, and we are all following a very similar storyline in our lives to varying degrees. I was talking to Roland about this, and I was like, why in so many different cultures are gods represented as angry and vengeful and fighting? And he said, because we made God in our image. But I feel like Jesus in his Christ consciousness was changing that. If we are made in God's image, this other consciousness of peace, of love, of redemption, forgiveness, ascension, does that feel more like our true nature than the other interpretations of God made in our image rather than us being made in God's image? All depends on your perspective in the moment. So on Palm Sunday, I spoke about how the people that were throwing palm branches in front of Jesus as he rode in were giving him a victory, a heroic welcome. And he came through with his message about the kingdom of God is within you. The kingdom of God is within you. The kingdom of God is within you. You have the power, the same power that I have. You don't need to outsource source. You don't need to supplicate. You don't need to do these things. He had that line constantly. And then in a few days, those same people didn't like that message and said, crucify him. He still didn't change his message. He still came forward with love. So in the First Nations interpretation of this, that I would just read him, the conversation that he had before he went to the cross. And Pilate they called Spear of the Great Waters. Spear of the Great Waters went back into his lodge and had Creator sets free, that's Jesus, brought to him, so he could question him in private. Once inside, he said to him, are you the chief of the tribes of wrestles with Creator? That would be Israel. Is this your question? Creator sets free asked, or are you listening to others? I am not from your tribes, Spear of the Great Waters, Pilate answered. It is your own people and their holy men who have turned you over to me. What have you done? My way of ruling is a good road. It is not in the ways of this world. If it were, my followers would have fought to keep me from being captured. So then you are a chief, he said back to them. It is you who have said it, Creator sets free answered. I was born for this, and I have come into the world for this purpose, to tell about the truth. The ones who belong to the truth will listen to my voice. Spear of the Great Waters shook his head and said, what is the truth? Then in John 19, I will move down to verse 6. Then take him and kill him yourself, Spear of the Great Water said to him. I find no guilt in him. They answered him back, our law tells us he must die, for he represented himself as the Son of the Great Spirit. Speak to me, Pilate said to Jesus. Do you not know I have the power of life and death over you? I can have you killed or set you free. Have you nothing to say? And Jesus answered, the only power you have is what has been given you from above. The ones who turned you over to me carry the greater guilt. Spear of the Great Waters tries harder to have Creator sets free released, but the people would not have it. They stood their ground, saying, if you release a man who says he is a chief, you are not honoring the ruler of your people, for anyone who claims to be the chief challenges his power. So the beautiful thing about this is that these people were willing to crucify someone that they could find no fault in because they had elected a king and they wanted to believe what that elected king was saying rather than following their hearts and listening to the law that said this person is innocent, this man is innocent. He speaks the truth, which is the kingdom of God is within you. You are all sons and daughters of God. The I am cannot be divided against the I am. And the I am loves the same things that you love. That includes peace, love, joy, and bliss. So the next beautiful part of the story was Judas. So Jesus, Yeshua, Judah, asked the closest friend he had, the one he called a brother, to fulfill another promise, which was the betrayal in the garden. And we needed that betrayal so that Yeshua could extend a deeper level of forgiveness and love to those, his followers, to demonstrate that. And so Judas fulfilled this order. Jesus called him brother. So then there is this crucifixion that happens, a physical death. But then we see how Jesus' spirit, while remaining in love, comes forward with this beautiful message that even if you yourself don't believe me or accept me, I will heal everyone around you. And that was this great comforter, this great comfort that came through this ascension process. Now here's the beautiful thing. We are living in the ascension phase of this story. You're probably hearing a lot about ascending into 5D, new earth formation, Christ consciousness. It's the same thing. We are living in the ascension phase. So each one of us may go through our own personal ego crucifixion or some other shift for us to return back to our true nature of love, our true source. That's okay. It's part of it. But if you look around, you're surrounded by paradise already. It's just a shift of awareness, of consciousness, of the divine light that is here. Much love to you.